Alright, so this will probably be a pretty quick and simple video, but this is something I'm pretty excited about. This is a FLIR thermal imaging camera. This is the FLIR i60. It is 12 years old, and that's about as long as I've wanted a thermal imaging camera. But, yeah, and the resolution is only something like 180 by 180, I think, in terms of thermal imaging resolution. It has a little black and white camera on it, a little laser pointer, and it goes up to 350 degrees Celsius. So, not quite good enough for metal casting, kind of low resolution, and I can't take video with it, but it was free. So, yeah, it's a shame it's not a couple generations newer. If it was from 2 years after this gen, if it was a FLIR or FLIR, whatever, however you pronounce it, E4, then I could firmware hack it, I could turn it into an E8, have a nice 320 by, I think, 320 resolution or something, and it would be just like more modern. You know, the E series is really cool, and that's the first ones that I kind of saw. And the I series, I don't know, just a bit older. I don't think there's as much firmware hacking as you can do, but I need to make a Windows XP machine or a VM to see if I maybe can play around with the firmware, because there's some artificial noise stuff and some other things that they did. But this thing should be pretty handy. I had some other ideas for maybe taking it apart and turning it into like a thermal scope kind of thing, but I wouldn't use it that much for that use. And it's actually got a USB port, and I can actually hook this up to a computer, and it just shows up as a webcam. So I can have a thermal imaging camera just hooked into a computer, and I can record video off of it like that, which means maybe I can hook it up to a Raspberry Pi and have a thermal camera as one of my webcams on my 3D printer whenever I do that. But the video today is about these, because these batteries I don't think you can get anymore, and I thought they were completely dead when I found this thing. They do seem to come to life a little bit, but it seems like they maybe last like an hour total or something like that, and they're originally supposed to last 5 hours. But it did come with 2 of them, so I've taken one of them apart, and you can see it's just a couple 18650s. These ones are Varta A14 batteries. Kind of got stuff over them, but I'm hoping that the BMC in this doesn't lock out when the batteries go dead, because I want to replace them. So, apparently now it's quite hard at vape shops to get nice, like, Samsung or LG, you know, 18650s. So I have these Home Life ones, which are apparently equivalent to an LG HG2. I think it was like a 25 amp, 22.14 amp continuous draw ratio, 63 watts per cells, 3015 milliamp hours, or 10.85 watt hours. And the original battery life on this is 2.2 amp hours? Are there 2 different batteries? Oh, 17 watt hours for this one, 16 watt hours for this one. I don't know why. But I'm going to try and replace the batteries in this. They did use cells with the protection in them. So, yeah, it's these weird kind of, you know, vape cells with the weird plastic on them. I don't know who the OEM for the cells is, but apparently there was a big cease and desist thing on the vape industry where they can't get like LG and Samsung cells for some reason. So my workbench is all covered in stuff because it's, you know, I'm doing projects, I'm doing a big organizing things, but I'm gonna swap these batteries and then we're gonna see if this actually works. Okay, so these are actually put together quite nicely in a repairable way. There is glue holding the 2 batteries, you know, together for vibration, and there's glue holding the case together. But in terms of attaching it to the circuit board, it's just some double-sided tape, which means that's going to be really nice and easy just to stick back on. I'm feeling pretty lazy. It's been a super long week and a super long day. So I just kind of bent the tabs back, and I'm just going to solder the tabs onto the batteries. I know you're not supposed to solder to 18650s. I'll just do it quickly. I'll be careful. It'll just be a little teeny tiny bit of soldering onto 18650s. What's the worst that could happen? I've done it before. Should be fine. I do want to get a little battery spot welder, but, you know, money. So we're going to hook these on and then see if it lights up. Hopefully not in the fire way. Hopefully it lights up in the taking a charge way, not the fire way. So, I kind of forgot that I have this nice new workspace. You know, it's still getting used. You know, there are suspension components and a 3D printer there. Because I can't have just one hobby. But I've got power and stuff here, so this is actually, you know, a nice spot to film and things. So, we have our batteries in. The soldering is, you know, not great, but I mean, you know, this should be a very fantastically useful tool. You know, I can check to make sure that temperatures all look good and things. The newer cameras also have autofocus. These ones don't. So you have to manually focus them. Oh, you can actually make out the heat on the logo on there. So, we have their special little proprietary little charging cord. Our batteries are soldered in. Now let's hope that the BMC doesn't have a little thing that kills it when it runs out of power. It did look pretty basic as far as the BMC goes. Ooh. Okay, so the other lights, the other battery also does this behavior for some reason. I need to look up the manual. But if we go ahead and pull out the other battery, it does that exact same blinking green thing. And I'll need to figure out what that indicates. But we'll just go ahead, slap this cover on, roughly. We'll toss some hot glue in there and stuff after, if it looks like it works. Let's go ahead, pop this in. I mean, you know, I think it's pretty safe to say it's working. It's interesting, this actually runs a Windows CE on it, so similar to old, like Zebra hand scanners, like the big ones with like a big trigger and the big screen and keypad on that you use in grocery stores. Windows CE on this, same as that. Which kind of makes sense because it's got a laser on it, but that's only software driven. And it actually shows you on the screen where you're pointing the laser, but it's actually like an augmented reality thing. So it actually uses the black and white camera to detect the laser. Yeah, so we'll cancel that. We got full charge. Can take a look at that stuff. So you can see, it sort of picks up that the laser's on the distance, but if I cover the camera, it hides the laser. So, that looks like a successful battery refurbishment for the FLIR i60. Batteries that you can't get anymore, that are normally supposed to run for about 5 hours. I'm going to Google what that means. Oh, sorry, actually, I'm pretty sure that means it's charging. I'm pretty sure blinking green means it's charging, solid green means it's charged, because I think I saw this one go solid green. But these old ones definitely don't last 5 hours, you know? They have these 12-year-old cells. This thing was a very expensive tool when it was new. I'm sure it was purchased because they needed it and they used it plenty. And yeah, instead of those super old cells, now we have, you know, some kind of cringy, weird, you know, vape style, you know, marketed cells. But we have two brand new batteries in there. So I should get 5 hours battery life out of this thing. According to what I found on Google, it was 5 hours when it was new. So yeah, that should be a very nice upgrade instead of running for about an hour in my very basic on and off testing. So, if you find one of these old cameras, if you have one of these old cameras, you can refurbish these. The BMC doesn't lock out when the batteries die or anything like that. It actually does seem to maybe protect them a little too. It has low voltage cutoff, but there you have it. And there I have a brand new, to me, 12-year-old to literally everyone else, thermal imaging camera. And this thing, I mean, I still want a better one. And I've still seen cooler ones, like Mike's Electric stuff, I think, had like an old firefighter's thermal imaging camera that would go on a helmet. That thing is like super cool. I don't know where that guy gets all this cool stuff, but yeah, this should still be very useful and very fun to play with. So, hopefully this video helped someone. Hopefully it was enjoyable. Subscribe, like, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. I need to sleep. Sorry, before I forget, the way I took this apart, there's a little seam around the edge of the battery. I just took an X-Acto knife, very carefully scored around that a couple times, and then took a thin metal spudger, ideally plastic, to poke in and sort of pry upwards, just to crack the glue joints. But no screws or anything hidden, comes apart very cleanly, actually quite nice to work on.